Hello, welcome to our channel. We appreciate each and every one of you. Welcome to our channel. This channel is primarily meant for world leaders such as presidents, vice presidents, and the world leaders who make a lot of money. It's to you we broadcast this broadcast, but anybody else can listen. We're not discriminative. We listen to the devil's broadcasts. We listen to the UN broadcasts. We see what's going on around the world before it happens. We know what's going on. When they found that large 50 KT firecracker, 50 kiloton firecracker north of the White House, 1.1 miles away, 11 September, there should have been a call by the federal agency that found it to say thank you. Nothing. We're blacked out. Absolutely blacked out. Information is blacked out. But that would have taken DC out, but that's okay. All the facilities are underground right now. So it really doesn't matter if DC disappears, does it? Congress will just keep working away in their underground bases or at Fort McPherson, Atlanta, Georgia. But anyway, ENRAGED, what is the Kirk investigation hiding? What are they hiding? First of all, huge Medicare changes. We've gone from about 100 different health insurance companies down to 8, and then 2 government-sponsored ones. So JP Morgan owns them all, and they're owned by BlackRock, the CIA. So we now have one medical program. Anyway, it is a good book to read if you're on Medicare. Read it, understand it, and call and meet with an insurance agent. Every state has one, and organize your Medicare for you. Not that it works real well, but organize it for you. The retired Americans have to pay for the illegal alien health care. That's right, all 15 million of us have to pay for 140 million people on illegal alien and refugee medical care. Unfair, maybe, but it's the way it is. So, a little bit from our sponsor. What is a qualified IRA, and why do you get a 10-ounce silver bar when you start a qualified IRA, or a 1-ounce proof coin, which I think is worth more than the 10-ounce silver bar? But I personally like accumulation of lots of silver. I am sorry they're still spraying on us. There's nothing we can do. And until Trump stops spraying, he's not on our side. So what is a qualified IRA? Why does Noble Gold deal in qualified IRAs? Why does it benefit you to start a qualified IRA? First of all, don't gamble with your future with stocks and bonds. But mostly, they've been around for 10 years. I've been dealing with them for a long time. They send our nonprofits some money. And a lot of times I buy gold and silver. A lot of times it goes out to help people, primarily with rent and teeth, Americans who can't afford those things. So the literature describes a qualified IRA, and it's very, very convoluted. Suppose you get your paycheck. Suppose you live in Utah. The government takes the federal government and the state take 40% of your paycheck. It's theirs. The city takes a whole bunch of your paycheck, and a lot of that goes to the owners of the city. Salt Lake, St. George, Provo, been all throughout Utah. So what you're left with is this. But if you take, say, $1,000 a month out of your paycheck, and I know there's a lot of people on welfare who listen to this. If you take $1,000 out of your paycheck every month, you don't have to pay taxes on it. And you can put it in an IRA if you qualify. There's a lot of qualification requirements. Now, you can either put it in stocks and bonds where they own your money, or you can put it in something like this, gold and silver, where you own your own money. And I would put it in their vault, quite frankly. Because if you're married and you have some in your vault and she has some in her vault, you each have your own independence. And you sign a document that says, I own this, she owns that. If we're ever divorced, we keep our own IRAs. Because a divorce, when you're married, 2 corporations come together, and a divorce is simply to split the corporation in half and the assets in half. That's it. That's all a divorce is. Taking one corporation and making 2 corporations out of it. Splitting the assets equally. Nothing else matters. Child support, that's made up by Satan. That's a satanic attitude. But a qualified IRA means that when you take this money out of your income, however much money you're allowed, you're not taxed on this money. But when you take it out, then you're taxed on it. And hopefully, if you're older, you're in a lower income bracket, so you're going to be taxed less. First in, first out. So you put the money in, and if it's non-taxed, then when you take it out, it's taxed. You can put it in after taxes and start an non-qualified individual retirement account. I would start it early and I wouldn't touch it. Unfortunately, as a forester, affirmative action prevented me from starting an IRA, so I don't have one. But if I had a standard job a white male qualified for, or had my own business, if I was that smart, younger, then I would have started an IRA. And I would have put it in there, and I would have put it in gold and silver, and I would have left it there. And I would have put it in their vault, because then I'm not tempted to take it. I know hanging over my head will be a retirement income. So, I invest in Noble Gold because when I get gold or silver, I know it's real gold and silver. 877-646-5347. Maybe it's time you talk about converting your IRA into gold and silver and quit gambling with your future. Anyway, on to the news. Forget about, well, let's talk about Charlie Kirk's assassination. Forget about the video Benjamin Fulford has. Forget about all the conspiracy theory stuff. Forget about the fact that Amazon put out a book on the 8th of September on Charlie Kirk's assassination, and he was assassinated on the 10th of September. I've seen that on Amazon. Forget about the fact, in fact, the gal put a video out on it. Forget about the fact that he was hauled off in a black SUV, not an ambulance, and there's no hospital records, and they haven't compared the ballistics of the rifle to the bullet. Forget about all the videos they have of the shooter jumping off the building with the rifle and jumping off the building without the rifle. Forget about that. Forget about the fact that the Ukrainian member of parliament said Zelensky was behind the shooting of Trump's ear and he was behind the Charlie Kirk shooting. Forget about that. Forget about it. The fact that the first story was he lived with his dad and they showed a picture of his computer in his bed, and the second story is his dad's a cop, not a pastor, and the third story living with transgender, and on and on and on the stories go. Forget about all that. Forget about that they're drawing this out. What are they hiding? The day before Charlie Kirk's assassination, the Senate voted not to release the Epstein list. Now, the Epstein list is a private flight log, and the Senate has no say in this. So at Fort McPherson, Georgia, they voted, and there wasn't anybody there, but they magically voted not to release the Epstein files. And Trump, all of a sudden you haven't heard anything about the Epstein files, have you? It's like they drug out the 9/11 investigation trying to convince you it was a plane that hit the Pentagon. Yet we smuggled a video away from the FBI and showed on TV clearly it was a missile that hit the Pentagon on 9/11. But 80% of you believe it was a plane. Even though the three of the four planes after 9/11 were still flying by tail number on 9/12, you all believe it was done by commercial planes. You believe that. We saw it. But they were different tail numbers. So, most important, what they're hiding from you, as an investor, you need to know that the American economy is collapsing. Part of Hallmark, a wing of Hallmark declared bankruptcy. I think it was Pennsylvania, Virginia, I forget. The U.S. will have 40 million square foot of retail space shut down this year. Last year was 10 million. This year is an absolute disaster. Walmart just shut down two of them. Two Walmarts, huge Walmarts in Portland because of shoplifting. All across the nation, the cities are becoming the cities, the libtard-run cities that allow shoplifting by order of the CIA, who appoint the Council of Five, who appoint the governor, and in the libtard states, the libtards appointed by the CIA allow the shoplifting. Retail is going away in the inner cities. George Washington saw this, I saw this, the cities becoming what I'm going to call deserts and then burning from riots. And all across Europe, especially France, Germany, and England, there are riots. Because there's no more money, because they're giving them to the illegal aliens. In Germany alone, there's 100 stabbings a day from the illegal immigrants. So we're rioting all over the world. And as of tomorrow on National Cheeseburger Day, thank you, ImmuAssist, on National Cheeseburger Day, they helped sponsor that. In fact, they wrote the book on National Cheeseburger Day. She did, Jackie. Very good joke book. Funny. Anyway, I digress. Bottom line is, NoKings.org is calling for riots across the country. So if Trump arrests the rioters, which are CIA or FBI sponsored, if he leaves them in jail, then we know he's on our side. If he doesn't shut down NoKings.org, he's not on our side. If he doesn't uncensor my website, he's not on our side. Anyway, housing starts have plummeted. And today, a most important meeting, the Federal Open Market Committee, the Feds. You know, we have the Federal Reserve banks controlling the world. See how? Because it is a national socialist system run by the dollar. And we have the Federal Reserve System, which controls the banks. And the Federal Reserve System is sparking the destruction of the dollar, because the Federal Reserve System owns the Federal Reserve Bank of China, the Federal Reserve Bank of Russia, the Federal Reserve Bank of India. So when they turn away from the dollar, it's by order of the Federal Reserve System. You have to understand, we have a national socialist economy, Nazi society. We are the Fourth Reich. That's why we started the National Federal Reserve Bank. There was a Federal Reserve Bank of Nazi Germany, run by the Federal Reserve System, that was funded by the Rockefellers and Rothschilds. And U.S. corporations transferred their money to Germany. It's been that way since 1913. Housing starts are plummeting across the country. Those people who paid to get a house built, they're not paying anymore. Stop. Cease and desist. They're plummeting. Now, the Federal Open Market Committee, which is part of the Federal Reserve System above the Federal Reserve banks, even WW1, Federal Reserve System, started a Federal Reserve Bank in Germany. 1913, they funded Bismarck in 1914, Germany, to start WW1, WW2, Vietnam War, all funded out of American taxpayer money, American taxes, American corporate profits. That's right. You and I funded it. They raped America. Now we have no wealth. And we have 40 million illegals and 100 million refugees we have to pay for. So the Federal Open Market Committee is meeting right now as we speak in Washington, D.C. They can raise interest rates, keep the interest rates the same, or lower interest rates. Everybody's banking on a low interest rate. So gold went up and up and up and stopped. It froze. Same with silver. Up and up and up, froze, waiting for the market decision. If they raise interest rates, the U.S. economy's done. If they keep interest rates the same, the U.S. economy's done. If they lower interest rates in 6 months, we might see a little bit of a recovery. If they lower it a quarter point, nothing. If they lower it a half a point, maybe a little bit. But the people on the Federal Open Market Committee, the people who have committed insider trading and mortgage fraud, remember that black owl who committed mortgage fraud, massive mortgage fraud? They were never arrested. Just like Ilmar Omar, an illegal alien, has never been arrested, even though she's in Congress at Fort McPherson, Atlanta, Georgia. She's not in D.C. Get a clue. The halls of Congress are frickin' empty. When those two military members were screaming, they had the wrong medals on. Everything was wrong on their uniform. They were screaming in the halls of Congress. There was nobody there but 4 security guards. It was empty. The videos showed that. They forgot to edit that out. Oops. Sorry, FBI. Your editors suck. So, the Federal Open Market Committee is about to decide whether or not they're going to throw the U.S. economy a lifeline or kill it permanently and cause massive chaos around the world like we're doing right now. So, what President Trump has done is he's sent a signal to those who've committed mortgage fraud and insider trading and other felonies, not misdemeanors, felonies, because this gal who committed mortgage fraud committed a lot of mortgage fraud, just like Fannie Willis. Fannie. I call her Fannie. Fannie Willis, because that's how her name's spelled. She just doesn't know how to pronounce English. She's not in jail. She committed mortgage fraud after mortgage fraud after mortgage fraud, just like the gal in the Federal Reserve System. Committed an enormous amount of mortgage fraud, and Trump has not arrested her. So if you are one of the devil worshippers, if you bent over, you became a devil worshiper, the demons put into you, it's okay for you to commit a felony fraud. It's okay for you to steal money from the American public, to rape the American public, to do insider trading. But if you're one of us who doesn't worship the devil, man, you do that, you're going right to jail. That's the signal Trump is sending. So, that's very important for you wealthy people to understand that. You go against the devil, you may end up in jail. So, Trump is currently in the United Kingdom giving away 44 billion American dollars, claiming they're going to advanced AI, when in fact off Edmonds in the ocean, right off to the east of Edmonds, England, central into Scotland, big city. Off to the east are large pods underwater, which are the Google underwater pod data storage centers. So the United States 44 billion is going to England to produce small portable nuclear reactors, just like we had in the Ford Nucleon. I met the guy who built it. I've seen it. It's a nuclear-powered car. Has a uranium core, a little piece of uranium, lasts for 50 years. Well, what you saw in Stargate is real. Those are nuclear pods. They look a little different, but they're nuclear pods. They will produce energy for 50 years, become radioactive. Then the solder starts to grow and then shorts itself out, just like on my old transistor radio. The solder grows out of thin air. It grows. You make solder out of thin air and it shorts the transistor radio out. It says right in the transistor radio instructions. 85 megahertz will cause the solder to grow out of nothing. It says right in the instructions, right there on the transistor radio we've shown you. So Trump is meeting with King Charles. Now King Charles is 5'9" and Trump is 6'3". Well, when Trump met with King Charles, he was only 5'9". The pictures are clear. The Trump that met with King Charles is shorter than King Charles, the dead man who reappeared as a double and is 5'10". The original King Charles was about 5'6". So anyway, the 44 billion is now being used to construct underground bases and small nuclear reactors, which explains why nuclear futures have gone up. Suddenly, the price for uranium is skyrocketing as the United States contracts to build how many thousands of these small portable nuclear reactors for their underground cities. So, we're going to find out what happens as chaos erupts around the world, because we have imported so many illegal aliens in the U.S. and Canada, Australia, New Zealand, and England, and France, and Germany, Spain, and Italy. We've imported so many illegal aliens that there is chaos erupting around the world. Don't think this isn't planned. So, as chaos erupts, weather chaos also erupts, and food crop production around the world is plummeting, so food costs are going up, such as coffee and cocoa. And guess what's keeping up with the inflated costs of food? Gold and silver. 877-646-5347, man. You own that. The feds can't take it because they're a private corporation. And you know that now. And if they do start to take it, bury it. Don't let them on your property. Even with a search warrant. They can search, but they can't touch with a search warrant. They don't have a steal warrant. God bless. Thank you very much, and we'll see you tomorrow.